Hi, I'm Kathy Guy with Granger Community Church. I'm the Director of Community. We're talking about the topic of bitterness, and it's bitter. It's the bitter cycle that we get into when we have been hurt and we're angry, and it leads to resentment and this bitterness, and it gets toxin and it poisons our relationships. So often we get so used to this feeling, we don't know what we do without it. Our relationships start getting formed of power struggles and reactions to each other, and one person might withdraw and one person might chase all the time and be angry and why won't you talk to me? And all kinds of things start happening inside of a bitter cycle. The problem is that our relationships are suffering. And when we're like, what's wrong with us? And often we end marriages because we can't figure it out. We don't know how to start it and stop. It just keeps going and seemingly feels like it's out of control. It is. So we'll have to break that. You have to know what's going on and gain some insight into yourself so that you're not just constantly reacting to one another. Let's take a look here at the bitter cycle of what happens inside all of us. Everyone has these needs and expectations. We all have needs and expectations. And what happens is we look to other humans to meet those needs and expectations. Now, humans are incredibly human, so they fail all the time. And we have unmet needs and expectations. All of us. I know that you might believe that no one has been hurt like you, but really you don't have a monopoly. I'm not trying to minimize your pain, but you don't have a monopoly on pain. Everyone has unmet needs and expectations. We all have. Then what comes out of that? Hurt and pain. And when we don't know what to do with this hurt and pain, when maybe we've cried, maybe we've tried to communicate it, but it just keeps happening, well, most of us go to anger. And in our society, lots of times with men, most frequently, it was never cool for little boys to show hurt and pain. So they rush straight to anger. And often after women start feeling that I'm not going to be weak anymore and you're not going to walk and take advantage of me and walk on me, they zoom right past the hurt and pain too, and they go to anger. Whenever you see anger, it's generally a secondary emotion, and that behind that is this hurt. And there's something else going on. Well, what happens when we get angry and we still can't get the other person to meet our needs and expectations? We turn into this wonderful thing called bitterness and resentment. Unresolved anger, unresolved pain, call it whatever you want, it is not good. Because out of this bitterness and resentment, it's where we start doing and saying things we never thought we would do or say. Just incredible, beyond belief kinds of things that we say to those people that we love the most. And the nice Christian word for it is called sin. Sin, it's what happens when we do and say things that are really hurtful to the people that we love. And what happens when we sin, there is this feeling of guilt. And this would be healthy guilt. There's unhealthy guilt and healthy guilt. And this is healthy guilt. This is a conviction from God, conviction from the Holy Spirit that said, you were wrong. And I know that when I do it, man, immediately I just get a feeling that says, that was not the right thing to say to them. They didn't deserve. I can feel it. Well, why don't I say I'm sorry? Because I am prideful. I get ornery. And it's right in here. We don't have anything really in the cycle, but it's where this thing happens inside of our brain. It's called rationalization. We start rationalizing that sinful behavior, and we say, well, if they wouldn't have hurt me clear back here, if they would have just met my needs and expectations, I wouldn't have had to do that. So it's not my fault. You're not going to hold me responsible. And so what happens is when we get that rationalization, we grab right back onto bitterness and resentment. We go right back and we say and do mean and nasty things. We feel a guilt, but wow, we rush past this one pretty quickly. And we go right into this cycle. And it spins out of control. And so often, there's two people in the cycle. And the relationships. And about the time that your needs and expectations weren't met, somebody else's probably weren't met either. And these two things start weaving around together, and it can get so confusing to figure out where we're at and how we break it. So the way that you break the bitter cycle, there's a few things you can know. First off, anytime that you hurt someone, you're going to feel that little feeling of guilt, conviction of sin. Say you're sorry. I am sorry. And don't try to explain it away and say, I'm sorry. You didn't deserve to be treated like that. But I did it because you were so mean to me. Yeah, that's not helpful. Don't do that. It's not helpful at all. But it's just so important to just say, I'm so sorry. You didn't deserve to be treated like that. Leave it alone. That's it. You just have to do the next right thing. Say you're sorry. The other thing that you can do is I kind of look at breaking it right in here, okay? You have to gain some insight into yourself. Adults have to understand, what am I thinking? What's going on inside of me? And so if I can go back to here and say, what is it that I am feeling so angry about? Then I can figure out my hurt, and I can work back and look at my needs and expectations. A great example of this, in my own marriage, there have been times where I'd love to say that, Jeff and I never fight, but we actually do, because we're human. And so we both have needs and expectations. We don't both meet them all for each other all the time. And there's been times where, I just had to get out of there. I'm going for a walk, because it gets to the point of, I got to call a timeout on myself before I say or do something I'm going to regret. So I remember very clearly one time I was just walking around the block, and in my head, I was giving him a piece of my mind. And I'm just going on to myself, like, why is he such a jerk? Why does he have to act like that? Why can't he? And it was just going. And so I was like, wow, I should probably pray. God, make him nice. Make him be nice. Yeah, those prayers aren't all that helpful. So I just started going, God, I just don't want to fight. I don't want to fight. What's going on, And I started thinking, he's probably at home feeling exactly the same way about me. Because I've disappointed him somehow. I've hurt him. And I started just thinking, what is going on? And I started thinking about my anger. And I started thinking about, well, really, I'm just hurt. And all of a sudden, I started going, you know what? That hurt came from an unmet need. What's that need and expectation? And allowed me to go back inside and go, hey, here's the deal. What's really going on is, I just had an expectation that when I did this, you'd say that. And it didn't happen, and I kind of exploded about it. I'm really sorry. You didn't deserve to be talked to like that. And after, things calm down, then you might be able to talk about those needs and expectations and what's going on. But, we're humans, so there's a little period of, all right, thanks for telling me. And, then he's going to work through and go, hey, I'm really sorry too. I don't want to fight either. And often that's where we start, just with a nice, simple, I don't want to fight. And it helps us work through it. But here's the thing that I found. My need and expectation, it wasn't the least bit realistic. He hadn't done that for me ever, for as long as I could remember. And now my husband's a great husband. That does not mean that he's a failure. It means that while my need and expectation might be reasonable, what working through this does is it allows me to look at my needs and expectations and say, is it reasonable to expect my husband or wife to do that? Oh yeah, it's reasonable. However, is it realistic? If you've been married for 5 years, 10 years, 1 year, 20 years, I don't care. Is it realistic that magically they're going to start meeting this need and expectation? No, it's not. I equate it to a child just going, I just want I'm just going to wish and hope. I really want there to be a tooth fairy. I want it to be true because it's such a wonderful belief. Well, I won't break it to you, but it's at some point, it's about I have to be an adult and step into reality of who is this person that I'm in relationship? Will I love them right where they're at? And does that mean I have to give up all my needs and expectations? No. Actually, Rob Wagner did a great teaching for us on this, and I love this example. He said, you don't have to give up your needs and expectations, but what you can do is you shift them to desires. He used a great example that he really hit home with me, and it's that he loves a clean home. He said, I like a lot of order, but his wife has 3 young girls at home. What's really the reality that every day when he comes home, the expectation that it's going to be in perfect order? If he keeps that expectation, he's going to walk in every single day and be upset. However, if it's a desire, on those days when, hey, it was a great day and they were able to keep things picked up, he goes, that was amazing to me. I walked in, it was like, wow, I wasn't necessarily expecting this, but this is a great that my desire has been met. And so the ways, again, in the bitter cycle, because you really want to look at this, folks, is that you can do a couple things. When you sin and hurt someone, you say you're sorry. It's just the right thing to do because these other people matter to God. And you start working backwards to go, what is going on? Why am I angry? Why am I hurt? What's the need that wasn't met? And is the person that I'm in relationship, have I communicated it well? Are they in a place, is this the person, is that where they're at right now? Are they able to provide this? Are they willing? And if you're not getting a lot of response for them, don't chase them. You can't change people. Let them know, but shift it to a desire. Shift it to a desire for yourself, because you don't get to be a victim and say, well, poor me, my needs weren't met. You'll have to go ahead and step into the adult role and take responsibility for your emotions. So there is a reason that the Bible says, above all else, guard your heart. You want to guard your heart from bitterness. When you see it start taking root, act quickly, because it can take you down and destroy relationships. But there is great hope to move out of it. Thank you.